As it often does, the end of a season brings many moments of reflection. I have felt many moments of reflection over the past 48 hours. And I figured it may help to start by sharing some thoughts that have been circling in my head over the past couple of days. First, I've been thinking a lot about the fans over the past couple of days because I was really impressed by how quickly they responded to and embraced this team. We built this team very differently than the Tigers playoff teams of the past. We played the game very differently than those teams did in the past. But we could feel every day when we showed up to the ballpark that they were locked in on everything. They really responded to the non-traditional pitching approaches. They responded to the different lineup constructions. They responded to the different in-game moves. We really felt that throughout the season. And it's one of the many reasons why I was so excited we beat the Astros. We earned playoff games in this ballpark this year. It's been a long time since there's been playoff baseball in this park. And seeing Comerica Park come alive and become a competitive advantage in October again was one of the most rewarding parts of this entire season. I hope it was rewarding for our fans, and I think I can speak for every player and coach and staff member when I say that those moments, when we clinched against the White Sox in games 3 and 4 in the ALDS, will forever be etched in our memory, and they serve as the ultimate motivator for us moving forward. That's why you take these jobs. That's why you become manager of the Tigers. That's why you become a player for the Tigers, and you push through that last rep in the middle of November to try to prepare yourself to ultimately play for an extra month. So that has to be the ultimate motivator for us to create more scenes like that, because it was really special, and it's something that we have been talking about nonstop since those moments happened. The second thought I had was I'm still struggling to reconcile the gut punch that we felt on Saturday with what was a wildly successful season for this whole organization. There were moments in games 4 and 5 of the ALDS where breaks could have gone our way, and they didn't. If those breaks had gone our way, we're probably sitting in New York right now preparing for the ALCS, but they didn't go our way. And those moments, are going to be really tough for us to process and swallow this winter, because they should be. However, getting your heart ripped out on one of the biggest stages in our game is both a blessing and a curse. It's a curse for all the obvious reasons, but it's a blessing because it means you're playing for something. It means the last game of the season really matters. It means this is a winning group that had a credible chance to be the last team standing at the end of the year. That's a change for this organization. It's something that all of our players, our coaches, and our staff members should be really proud of. I know I'm really proud of it. So I still find myself struggling to reconcile those two things. And then the last thought I had was, in my chair, when you get to the end of the season, you can't help but step back and try to assess the state of the organization. I found myself doing that a lot over the last 48 hours. I'm a firm believer that we should be judged by the goals that we articulate for ourselves, and I found myself revisiting a lot of the goals that I outlined in my opening press conference 2 years ago. I can confidently say at this point, we are headed in the right direction. We are on the right path in this organization. Everything I outlined in that press conference is happening in this organization. The first goal that I outlined on that day was I wanted to acquire, develop, and retain young talent. We've placed a huge emphasis on that over the last 2 years, and it helped us win the first postseason series in 11 years with the youngest team in baseball. It helped us produce 7 top 100 prospects, helped us produce the best winning percentage in the minor leagues of any organization, and it helped us produce one of the best farm systems in baseball. It also drove this guy to build a really talented coaching staff that's going to get the absolute most out of the young players that get here. We saw so many debuts this year, and we saw so many players get better, and it's all because of that emphasis on developing the young talent. The second thing we talked about was trying to create this culture of development. And that's happening at all levels of this organization. Look no further than Parker Meadows' first half compared to his second half. He got way better. There are young players transforming in this organization that are getting a lot better, and they're really helping us win. And it's also starting to filter into free agency. There are players like Michael Lorenzen, Jack Flaherty, Carson Kelly, who are coming here because they know they're going to get better. They're starting to rebrand this organization as a place where they can get better. And now this team this year rebranded the organization as a place where you can go get better and win at the same time. That's a huge breakthrough for us. And then finally, the third thing I talked about on that day was dominating the strike zone on both sides of the ball. We haven't achieved that goal yet, but we made some huge strides. Like on the pitching side, our emphasis on the strike zone has produced a top 5 pitching staff in all of baseball right now. Top 2 in many of the metrics that really matter. And then on the offensive side of the ball, we had a few too many strikeouts at the end of the year with the young lineup, but these guys are doing a lot better job in the strike zone. When you watch us play, when you watch our at-bats right now, we do a way better job of staying disciplined to the strike zone. We do a way better job of forcing pitchers into the zone, challenging our hitters, helping them produce major league quality at-bats. That's something I'm really proud of. Now, what does this all mean? It means nothing unless we find a way to keep growing and getting better as an organization. I don't often talk like this because I don't want to create much complacency in this organization. It's not a moment for us to step back and boast about the progress we've made, but it is a moment to acknowledge the things that are working here, acknowledge the things that have changed the look and feel of this organization over the past 2 years. And it's an opportunity for us to double down on those things and find new ways to get better. Those are the things that I've been thinking about over the past couple of years, but I wanted to start by expressing a ton of gratitude to the fans, to AJ, to our coaches, to our staff, and to our players for producing not only a pretty magical ride that we all experienced this summer, but also a very bright future that we're all really proud of moving forward.
I'm not sure I can follow that. But I want to echo what Scott says, and that we're heading in the right direction. I also want to extend my thanks to everyone for going along the ride with us. And I know the season makes you feel like the ride has to end, but in reality, got to fill up our gas tanks and keep driving. This year was special on so many levels. And I told Scott, throughout this, I had a range of emotions this season, from the optimism at the beginning of the season to the grind through, the early parts of the month, getting off to a good start. And then we hit what we felt like was rock bottom, and boy, did we bounce out of that quickly and effectively. And so, my staff, the players, the coaches, the organization, we did our best to give this city a team to be proud of. And I don't ever want to say we exceeded expectations, because our expectations are always going to be greater than anybody else, but we did our best. And as I told the players, we want this to be the floor. We want this feeling to resonate throughout the offseason so that we can, come back even more determined than ever to experience seasons like this, moving forward. So you guys did stick out with me, every day, twice a day, sometimes 3 times. But we do need to be proud of where we are and what we're doing, while continuing to push us to bigger and better things. And I'm very proud of the 2024 Tigers.
Both of you talked about avoiding complacency, and yet for the last 50 games, you were the best team in baseball. So I guess, not to say this roster is going to be identical going into next spring, but it doesn't seem like a roster you need to take a sledgehammer to during the winter. How do you balance the success at the end of the season versus what you said, avoiding complacency?
Yeah, I think for both of us, we saw some really exciting things with this team. We demonstrated over the last 50 or so games we can play with anybody. I think our track record suggests that we can. At the same time, the second thought I have in my head, and I know AJ has in his head too, is these guys can get way better. A bunch of these young players can get a lot better. They're just starting to get comfortable at this level. Think about the example I just shared with Parker Meadows. He got punched in the mouth early in the season, and he responded, becoming one of the better players in baseball, and one of the main reasons why we played so well down the stretch. A bunch of these young players that showed up in August haven't even gotten to the second half yet. Trey Sweeney hasn't gotten to the second half. Jace Young hasn't gotten to the second half. Jackson Jobe hasn't gotten to the second half. So we got to stay focused on the things that got us here, on the approach that we took that helped us create that team. But I don't think there's anyone in this building that doesn't think that on an individual level and a team level that this team can't get a lot better.
You have in this meeting, you have outlined, at least in general terms, your to-do list, for lack of a better way to say it. Can you kind of outline some areas that you will, roster-wise, look to improve or fortify?
Yeah, I think there are two main fronts that we need to work on this offseason. The first is, regardless of what we do this winter, the majority of our growth has to come from within. There are too many young players on this roster that can and must improve this offseason. The gains that they access this offseason with the help of his coaching staff, when we add all those up, when we get to Lakeland in February, they have to outweigh anything we do via an external addition, because there's just too much opportunity on our roster. It's the beauty of building with young players. It's why we've been so adamant about building with young players, because they continue to improve. We got to help them improve. We can't ignore the growth that needs to come from within. That's not to say there won't be external additions. There will be external additions. I don't know exactly what position they are going to come yet, because it's been 48 hours since we played, but I do have some thoughts on it. When I look at this team, I'm really proud of all the versatility we built into the team, because it gives us a ton of opportunity this offseason to add in different places. Like, take a look at Matt Vierling. Like, he can play on the dirt and on the grass. Like, if we find an addition on the grass that can help us, then he moves to the dirt. If we find an addition on the dirt that can help us, then he moves to the grass. Like, it's one of the reasons why we build the team this way. So I think positionally, we got a little left-handed towards the end of the year. I think we could use a right-handed bat to balance us out. And then pitching. We're always going to be trying to add pitching. I really like the depth that we have right now, both in the pen and in the rotation, but we got to add more pitching this offseason. I think I'll have more specific thoughts when we get to the GM meetings or the winter meetings, but I got to do a little more work on what exists in free agency and trade.